In this video, we're going to learn how to divide a decimal by a decimal. Okay, we're going to look at the problem 3 5800ths divided by 5/10. And when we divide decimals by decimals, we do the math the same way that we normally would do a division problem, but we first have to move this decimal out of the divisor. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the decimal from the divisor by shifting the decimals to the right, the same number of places in the divisor and dividend. So if you can see here, I have a decimal point right before the 5, and if I would need to move that one place to the right in order to get that decimal outside of the. So if I move that decimal one place to the right, you'll see that I now have a whole number. I have a 5. But in order to do that without affecting the results, I have to move this decimal point over one place to the right. We use the divisor as our guide, so if we need to move the divisor one decimal point over to the right, then we move the decimal point in our dividend one place over to the right. The goal is just to make the divisor a whole number. Now I can divide like I normally would. 3 cannot be divided evenly by 5, so I'm going to put my x over here. I'm going to now divide 35 by 5 and I get 7. 7 times 5 is 35, and then I subtract and I get 0. I'm going to bring down my 8, and now 8 divided by 5, 5 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 5 is 5, subtract, and I get 3. Now I have to not have, because I'm dividing decimals, I don't want a remainder, so I'm going to add a 0 to my dividend, drop a 0, and then now 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then 6 times 5 is 30, and I can subtract and I have no remainder. And again, I can bring my decimal straight up into my answer, and my answer would be 7 16/100ths. Let's try another one. Here I have 38 4/10 divided by 1500ths. Please remember, you can't change the order of a division problem. So whatever number you're starting with, that is the dividend. So my divisor is going to be 1500ths, and my dividend is going to be 38 4/10. So as you can see, I would need to take this one 2 places to the right in order to get this decimal point out of this divisor. So I will have to take my decimal point and my dividend over 2 places, and I'm going to fill in a 0 as a placeholder. Now that I've erased my original decimal points, I can continue to divide. So now I would look, I'm not going to divide 3 by 15, but I can divide 38 by 15. 15 goes into it 2 times. 2 times 15 is 30. Subtract, and I get 8. Bring down my 4, and now 84, or 15 goes into 84 5 times. Subtract, and I get 9, and now I bring down my 0, and 15 goes into 96 times with no remainder. So my answer to this problem is 256. Solving decimal division problems can be tricky, especially as you get into 2-digit numbers. So you always want to make sure that you are checking your work by multiplying to check your work. So if you look here, I'm looking at the original divisor, and I'm actually going to multiply the original divisor by my quotient. So that would be 256 multiplied by 1500ths. And the result of that, or the product, should be my original dividend. And after I multiply them, I do get my answer of 38 40/100ths, which is equivalent to 38 4/10. So I know that my answer is correct. Now let's give one more example. You will see in this problem, I have a decimal point that is one place to the left in my divisor, but I have the decimal point that is 2 places in the dividend. Now I only want to move this over 1 place so that I can move that out of the divisor. And then I'm going to move this decimal point over 1 place. So it's okay that I didn't get rid of it out of my dividend. And now I'm just going to divide. So 3 does not, you can't take any groups of 8 out of 3, so I put an X. 8 goes into 32 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32. And then I'm going to subtract and I'm going to get 0. I can bring down my 4. I can't get any groups out of 8 out of 4, so I have to put a 0 here. And that means I'm going to have to add another 0 to my dividend because I can't have a remainder. So 8 times 5 is 40, and I subtract and I get 0. And now I can bring my decimal point straight up into my answer. And the answer to this problem would be 4 5/100. Pause the video while you try the next 2 practice problems on your own. Now that you've had an opportunity to solve it, hopefully you were able to get for A, 11 5/10 as your answer, and for B, 18 1/10 as your answer. Now I'm going to let you pause the video to solve these last 2 problems, C and D, on your own. See how you do. Now hopefully you're able to find your answer of 25 for the C and 30 for D. In this video we learned how to divide decimals by decimals.